I know that I said that the next video was going to be tackling the slave cylinder. I've decided against that. And the reason being this engine bracket. Let me explain my thinking here. No matter how much I raise up this engine with a jack, I cannot get it up high enough in order to get that bracket off. That bracket is put on at the factory while the engine is out of the car, and then they drop it in. That bracket is never meant to be taken off with the engine still in the car, so I have to get the engine out. And if I have to get the engine out, I might as well tackle the slave cylinder while it's out of the car. It's just going to be a lot easier that way. If the whole power steering rack has to be replaced, why not just do that at the same time too? Raising the engine up is going to solve a lot of issues for me, including the wiring. Some of that wiring is just twisted together. It's not soldered, not even crimped. It's just two pieces of wire stuck together and then twisted together. Engine's got to come back out, and it has to be dropped back in properly with the proper mounts and everything. So I need an engine crane. I looked on Craigslist. The cheapest engine crane there was, it was $175. Really old and beat up looking, and I was like, that's way too much. I can get a brand new engine crane from Harbor Freight for about that same exact price. Why am I gonna buy a used one where I don't know the condition of the hydraulics or the seals? What I did was I went and got an engine crane. And this is the Harbor Freight engine crane 69514, made by Pittsburgh. I really like my Pittsburgh jack. I don't have any problem with Pittsburgh. Actually, I really like my Pittsburgh jack. This is going to be an unboxing video for my Harbor Freight engine crane. That's officially what it's called. Not an engine hoist. A hoist is different. A hoist is the one with the chains. This is a crane. It's a folding crane. For a lot of you guys that have girlfriends or wives and you don't have a lot of space and you're trying to sell them on why you need an engine crane to get out your engine for your project, let them know it folds up. It does not take up that much space, and I'm going to show you exactly how it's assembled and how much space it takes up when it's folded up. It does not really take up that much space. I also got a 3-ton load leveler. That was about 30 bucks. I got the crane for 164. Another good tip, if you're ever going to buy an engine crane from Harbor Freight, do it during the summer. When they have their July 4th summer type events, that seems to be the lowest price. July 4th sale this year, that crane was going for 137. And the highest price I've noticed every year from Harbor Freight is actually during Christmas time. I want to say about $220 to $250. And this sucker is heavy. That is really heavy. Alright. That's your clevis. Oh, it's got a hook on it too. Nice. Now, I have seen videos in an assembly type process, and I gotta say, the packaging between what I have here and what they had 1-2 years ago, big difference. Good job, Pittsburgh and Harbor Freight, on the packaging. Packaging looks good. Jack. Side supports. Goes on the back. And that's all for box number 1. Need to sharpen the scissors. All your hardware. Wow, very nicely laid out. Manual. Your bottom. Your pins. Casters. That's it. Listen real close. These are miniature little slag balls that came off during shipping, and they're tiny. They're about the size of a pinhead. There's tons of them. That's pretty neat. Let's take a moment and we're going to read the owner's manual and safety instructions. I'll do this off camera. You can see every single bolt is labeled and tells you exactly which location to put it. These, I can already tell, are going to be some really good directions. It's not going to be like the typical Chinese English directions that you might get from a Chinese manufacturer, which Harbor Freight is well known for. This looks like it was done in proper American English. Good stuff. I don't even think I have to do an assembly video because it's all laid out right here for you. Every single nut and bolt. I live in Florida. If you're not familiar with any of my videos, I live in Florida. I'm in my garage. It's 90 degrees, 100% humidity. It is freaking sweltering hot right now. The small one goes there. Nope, I got it wrong. Son of a bitch. Try this again. Well, they could have made it so the brackets only line up one way and you can't put the wrong wheel on. Could have made it idiot-proof there. And these are open bearings, so you can actually see the balls inside the bearings. This one is really good. This one's really good. But these two front ones grab. Make sure it's a small wheel. Yep. Alright, that's good. Put your nut inside of your ratchet. And you stick it all the way back here. Underneath of that piece. And then pray, pretty much. Yeah, it actually works quite well. Nice grip on. Alright, all those bolts are good and snug. I have to kind of lift up on this bottom portion and lift this into the leg in order to put that pin through, which is, I think, perfectly fine. Alright, next, assemble the base. These are going to be M14 by 100. 1, 2. I don't have a socket big enough. 8. So 7/8 will do. Next up are these guys. That's not too bad. Probably the easiest one I've done so far. Does not line up. That's about 2 millimeters long. Which means I have to loosen those two mount bolts that I spent a lot of time and energy getting really tight. Loosen those so that this folds back a little bit, but then that's not going to be sitting tight and flush. This side support bracket here lines up about there. It's not even close. But if I loosen that, this entire bar is not going to be flush mounted to the frame. You're going to lose a lot of leverage doing that, to the point where the crane might fail if it's not flush. So it has to be flush there before this even really freaking matters. And this is way off. That's really disappointing. Alright, so I did go back and loosen those bolts, and now everything does fit up, but that's not going to sit quite flush. Now it worries me. I don't like that. If everything would line up properly when those are flush, that would be the ideal solution. Over the life of the manufacturing process, things go askew a little bit, and then all of a sudden you have one bolt hole that's, half an inch off. That throws everything out of alignment. Your handle behind the brackets. This was fitting up a second ago. What changed? That changed. See, but these don't. And it's not because the side's wrong. It's interchangeable on either side. You can flip it upside down and it's the same exact way this way or that way. It doesn't matter. That's not right. So we got an M16 bolt, M16 washer. That's bigger than 7/8. That's going to need 1 inch. 15/16. Yeah, 15/16. I don't want to go too tight because I still have to tighten those down. Now I have to go get these. That one is good. That's as tight as I'm going to get them. And I don't want to strip that. That was a pain in the ass. Learn from my mistake. Don't tighten your bolts down. Just get them in there loose and then tighten them all in sequence. Tighten that, then that a little, then that, and just keep going back until they're all tight. Wow. What a pain in the ass. They should have definitely said that in the directions. Do not tighten down the bolts first. Do this sequence between that bolt, that bolt, that bolt, that bolt, and that bolt. Earlier when I said they give you 3 because one's a spare, that's not true. This is your boom bolt. So don't just chuck that in the spare bolt box. It's actually starting to look like a crane. What's next? So I got the bottom bolt in, got the top bolt in. So let's try this jack out. In order to operate a hand-powered hydraulic jack, there's a tiny little T on here, which your bar has a notch for, and gets inserted. Just like a service floor jack. You have to twist it to the right to lock it, and that way you can actually use it. And then if you want to lower it, then you release the pressure counterclockwise. So we want to try and use this jack now, so we will clockwise, tight, all right, and then you stick that in the end there, lock it in there, pump up and down, and I get no pressure. Something does not feel right here. Oh, there we go. Now it seems to want to go. So now I'll do a test and try and press down on this and make sure that that does not slip at all. No, I think we're good. The first couple pumps that I gave this, it did nothing. It didn't go anywhere, so I don't know what's up with that. Maybe it has to prime. Man, this goes up really, really slow. You're gonna have to pump this thing 50 times to get this whole entire thing upright. That is so slow. There we go. Alright, so I'm happy with that, and then here's a little holder for your bar right there. You're familiar with the Ford titanium color? I like the black jack. I like the black and the gray. This is actually almost the same color that ND28 just painted his valve cover. So that's pretty neat. That is just like an hour of work right there. Just drenched. So this is how much space it takes when it folds up. That's about the same space as a Bowflex would take if it's folded up. A couple of feet, 3-4 feet, something like that. We're looking at about my chin. When you fold the legs up, you put the other pin in there so that these don't just fall down and slam on someone and hurt someone. They work really well. Very safe. And this handle here is for just pushing it, manipulating it into position. There, see? It's not so bad. And up next is going to be ripping out the V6 that's in Chloe's car. So if you want to stay tuned and watch that, stay tuned. Pittsburgh Harbor Freight 2-ton engine crane. Cool.